Hey guys, thank you for watching the Lucifer After Show here at AfterBuzz TV. We're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 2, entitled Stay Lucifer, Good Devil, right after this intro.
You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
The number of the beast, guys.
Yeah.
Indeed. If you don't know who this is, Iron Maiden, guys, classic Maiden, you've got to be a fan. Thank you for joining us for the Lucifer After Show here at AfterBuzz TV. We're breaking down Season 1, Episode 2, Stay Lucifer, Good Devil.
Good Devil.
Good Devil.
Stay Lucifer.
You know,
That's a good devil.
There's bad devils.
It's a good devil.
There's good devils. And today we're talking about the good devil named Lucifer Morningstar. Guys, I am your host, Stephen Lemieux. You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux. You can tweet us throughout the show at our Twitter handles. Also joining me is, of course, you know her as Samantha Benitz. Samantha.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Samantha_Benitz.
As well as Isis Velaquez.
And you can find me at Isis Velasquez, the number 4 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And the man, the myth, the legend. You didn't see him last week, but he is here to talk all the comic book knowledge because this is one of the most Lucifer knowledgeable people on this panel.
Okay. All right. That's a bit much.
Mr. Dave Child.
Yeah, you can find me at Mr. Dave Child on Twitter and Instagram. I should know, I do read the comics.
There you go.
I love the Sandman books.
Okay.
And I read the first, 3, I think, big arcs of Lucifer. But I'm kind of in the midst of reading it. So there's probably stuff from later books I don't quite know, but I know more than these guys. That's what's most important.
We have a lot of comic book fans. So.
The most knowledgeable is definitely on the comic
In this
side.
room, yes. Yeah.
Yes, in this room. Yeah, I didn't mean in the world, because I'm sure the writers might be a little bit more knowledgeable than most of us. So today I'm gonna do it a little differently. Of course, the pilot's very order by order. So today we're gonna break down kind of the character developments between, you got Lucifer, you have Chloe, then you have Chloe and her ex, you have Lucifer and Chloe, you have Lucifer and Maze, and you have the ending where you kind of get the big, okay, this is what the series is gonna be. Hypothetically, this is what Season 1's going to be. Let me say that.
Right.
And you're going to see a little bit more of where his character is going to develop towards. Yeah. So, speaking of Lucifer, we come back to him with the therapist. They're continuing the sex sessions.
Rendezvous.
Yeah, I guess she's going to be a thing. I guess he's constantly be having sex with that therapist.
Yes, and therapy is kind of like the rapey if you read it weirdly, so kind of makes sense.
That's a way to go with that. That's interesting. Okay.
I mean, there's many things to be said because his power, that is a power, and people looked at Jessica Jones, and that was Kilgrave's power.
No, his power isn't to force people to do. His
Kilgrave's power is
to force people to do what Kilgrave wants to do. All his power is for them to admit what they want.
So their desires.
Yeah, their desires.
True. You know what? You count me in that.
She wants the boner.
She wants
I don't mean to sound like a Lucifer apologist here, but I think really that's what's happening right there.
You're literally defending the devil right now.
I am. I mean, to be devil's advocate.
I hate you so much right now.
There's gonna be an episode, I bet you anything, before the end of Season 1 called Devil's Advocate. I bet you anything. Because they're playing puns like
Pun
crazy.
City on this show.
Oh.
Yeah.
So many puns. And I like the oh my god. It's like, don't bring him up right now.
Yeah.
They're laying it on heavy with that. I do want to bring up, because you were defending the devil per se.
Of course.
One of the comments we had on our YouTube video from last week, which was from one of the Million Moms of America.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they
one of the million.
One of the million. And they basically said that the perpetuation of a series based on Lucifer is to cloud the sober minds of America to make them more easily accept the teachings of the devil.
Okay, fair enough.
These people are really serious, man.
So if you like this show, if you like Lucifer, you should, of course, be watching this after show, rating us on iTunes and leaving us a comment and giving a thumbs up on YouTube. But you should also know that you are becoming more easily malleable by Satan.
Right.
Just understand that.
Yeah, we're all Satan worshippers here, which is why we're talking about this show.
We had goat for dinner.
Not me.
You're wearing that. Look at your lipstick. Look at your lipstick.
You're right. I'm going for the evil look.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. I think, there's an aspect of Lucifer that's what makes him the most interesting character in the comic as well as the show, which is kind of why I'm like digging the show, is he's an angsty kid who has daddy issues. He's a kid that has been fighting with his dad for a very long time, his dad being God, and he's forced to kind of take charge of hell, and he kind of liked doing it for a while, but a big reason of why he retired in the books, and also I think we're getting a sense of this in the show, is he feels like it's just all part of God's plan, and he doesn't want to keep following God's rules. So that's what's most interesting to me about the character, and why these last 2 episodes he's been dealing with fate's taking me in a different direction. But every time someone says fate, they're talking about God, or they're talking about someone's put him on this path. So he's like trying to fight against the path, or he's trying to figure out what's the best way to rebel against his dad. So he's just like an angsty youth.
Right.
Which is why I kind of like the show and the books.
Well, they reveal some pertinent information on this, that it wasn't Lucifer rebelling against God and running hell. It was God assigning him to hell. In this story, God assigned Lucifer to hell, and
someone needs to punish people.
And Lucifer calls Amenadiel out on, you're only worried because you're worried that now that you're his favorite son, like I was,
that you'll
I was a little kid,
to hell.
that you're going to be sentenced to hell, and then maybe I'll just be left alone or whatever. Going with your metaphor, Dave, of like the angsty child, it is reminiscent of that. It's you get to a certain age and your parents give you chores, and if you don't do the chores, you get mad and you run away from home.
Right.
And you stay with the nice neighbor lady that gives you everything you want. And then you don't want to go back home because the nice neighbor lady is changing you, like Chloe.
Yeah, or the nice neighbor lady is all of humans in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I think there's a sense of when he's Amenadiel, because I remember his name by just saying, what's the deal with Amenadiel? But Amenadiel is kind of the voice of God here. And right now he's saying, hey, you got to come back to hell. You got to get back to your job. So he's really enjoying the fact that he's going away from his job. And he's really enjoying the fact that Amenadiel's like, you're changing right now. And this whole episode is him realizing that that change is kind of starting to piss off his dad and piss off heaven. So maybe he should embrace that change. What
did you guys think of this episode as a whole? Isis, what was your kind of overall before we really dig in?
Again, so we're trying to figure out what is changing him, or is Chloe changing him? What is it that Chloe has that doesn't let him maybe be his fully evil self? So I think the research of him with Chloe is just another, I feel like it's throwing us off from what I would like to see happening, which is from the comic book, which is more of showing more of the other demons and more of their power. And I know before that we were talking about how maybe that's not the route it's going to go, of showing other demons too much, because it's going to take the excitement from who Lucifer is, what the show is about, Lucifer.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're going to get into that a little bit, because I know that's going to cause a huge debate here.
Yeah.
Samantha, what are your kind of thoughts so far as to where they took this pilot and brought it into the second episode?
I feel like the second episode was really about free will versus predestination, and you can kind of see the theme poking through, since Amenadiel keeps coming back down and intervening between the situation anytime there's, somebody who may get hurt, or just to try to also get Lucifer to go back to hell. He keeps mentioning you need to go back. There's only so much time before God is going to do something, and you will be punished for not accepting your role. That's the kind of vibe I was getting from Amenadiel. Just the kind of threatening tone he was, kind of condescending Lucifer the whole time, just letting him know if you don't come back, there's going to be consequences, not only for you, but possibly for those that you may love, which I think maybe Chloe.
Maybe Chloe.
Yeah.
I think a big twist would be that if Chloe's not the one changing him at all, and it's just the aspect of him being on Earth. Because right now they're really leading you to believe that it's Chloe.
But Chloe can't. Something about Chloe that Chloe doesn't let him get through.
Right. The mystery of Chloe, I think, is actually, at first, I gotta say, I think I liked this show because I thought I was gonna hate the show because I liked the comics and I thought that it's just going to be sexy Lucifer fighting crime, and it is that. But there's aspects on it that make me like it. Like Chloe, they give the devil a motivation. They give Lucifer a motivation for wanting to stick around by the mystery of Chloe. So the fact that she's a normal human, and I know in last episode you talked about maybe there'll be a twist where she'll be able to see angel time or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And in this episode we see that she doesn't see angel time, which is more mysterious to me because it makes it that she's a regular human who isn't affected by his powers at all. So he's just sticking around to figure out why. And every time there's something mysterious to someone who's immortal, they're going to wonder why it's happening. Because he's never seen this in all of his, 10 billion years. So it's a good excuse to have him stick around and fight crime in sexy Hollywood. But it's also, it kind of opens up the world a bit because it shows that there are maybe other people with mysterious powers that might pop up. That's my guess.
Yeah, you definitely need an excuse to root the character in one place. Because if he was just traveling Los Angeles, meeting random people every episode, then you'd be like, okay, this is getting a little bit boring really quick.
I also like that the second episode, they're dealing with this theme of someone who was Paparazzi, who's terrible. Although they kept saying paparazzo, which was a weird... I wonder why they kept doing that.
A little slang term.
Hollywood.
Yes.
Hollywood. But I like how they're dealing with these slimy paparazzi people who deal in terrible things, and one guy was trying to redeem himself. Very obvious theme shift to Lucifer himself, who's trying to maybe redeem himself, and so he's able to see someone who mirrors his kind of his change,
his change of heart,
redemption.
What I like about this episode and the direction that they took it, this episode was written by Joe Henderson, the showrunner.
Okay.
So this kind of I think this is going to be the basis for where the show will start and end. I think they laid down a lot of foreshadowing in this, and they really set the standard for change in a character. They have a fairly on-your-nose comparison between Lucifer and the Paparazzo.
Yeah.
You're looking at Robert Rashad's character, which is Josh, the paparazzi that's taking pictures at the beginning. This was kind of like Devil Meets Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen
the comic book,
no,
the movie,
the Jake Gyllenhaal movie,
yeah.
Really creepy. If you liked this episode and you want to know, if you want to imagine a story around this character of Josh, just go watch Nightcrawler. It's the same kind of character.
Journalist gone wrong.
Journalist having no lines, setting up situations just for the shot. But the change, which is interesting, what you said, and that it's the opposite. I think it's pretty interesting because you look at Lucifer as this guy who deals with dark people all the time, but he himself is considered the darkest. But then he's introduced to humanity where, okay, he's got the good people and the bad people, and the good people just highlight how bad the bad people are.
Right.
Which make him really want to punish them, which makes him take notice and want to have justice more than, let's say, he's in hell where everyone's bad. He doesn't have to worry about it. Everything's justice, but it's not really justice, it's just punishment.
Right. And in this world, this is to the moms of America, I think they're saying that Lucifer is kind of the punishment aspect of God rather than the reason everyone is evil. So there's no quite teachings of Lucifer. All the evil is coming from
the people
themselves, which I think is actually kind of more frightening and interesting moral dilemma to deal with.
Well, in this story, they're basically saying the photographer Nick, the one that's trying to change himself, is Lucifer on that end.
Yeah.
And Josh is humanity in this respect. Lucifer is seeing the bad side of humanity, and he's trying to remedy it. in the way that Nick was seeing the bad side of this protege that he's brought up, which is his son in a way, like he treated him like a son, and he's seeing the bad that's happening to him, and he is trying to change that, and then bites the bullet to, you know, help him. I think we're going to see Lucifer in a lot of pain, and we're going to see Lucifer taking on a lot of, what do you want to call it? His self-punishment to try to redeem some humans.
I like that scene between Nick and Josh. I really thought, finally, now I'm really seeing some devilish behavior, and this is kind of what I expected out of him. Because when Chloe said, you know, you're not going to be punishing him, like, let me do it with our justice system, I'm thinking, the devil is not going to take your answer no matter how cute you are. I'm sorry. Right. And so when he goes and puts those two against each other, I really thought that is a good way to show probably what the devil would do, given that he's now in the human world and kind of has a heart. And he sees that Nick is having, you know, feelings about what he did, and he actually cares. And where Josh is this juxtaposition of this awful, you know, journalist gone wrong, willing to do whatever it takes to be first, to get the best photos. And to me, it was also a parallel to the Princess Diana case, where, you know, she was killed, you know, because of the paparazzi trying to get a picture. So to me, it was, you know, a tragic car accident, but it reminded me a lot of what they're trying to show about society today and what is really worth it.
I mean, it's also a statement on our justice system. I mean, the only reason shows like this are popular is because people like to see the bad guys get their comeuppance when they know that the justice system will usually fail them, fail to provide that comeuppance. So Lucifer is you connect with him in a way that you're like, I know he'd just go to court and then get out of it, but now I get to see Lucifer be mean to him, Like, it kind of connects to the viewer in that kind of way, because there's a lot of highlight on our justice system as a whole, putting innocent people away, putting bad people not away. Like,
does the punishment fit the crime?
Yeah, so it connects with everyone's love of Batman right now, everyone's love of the vigilante justice, everyone's highlighting of these people nowadays that go up and beat up criminals and take over things thinking that they're the justice system.
Right. And it's also interesting, too, if you think about the wider kind of moral implications of the figure of the devil, is the idea that we need someone who's the most evil to punish the evil.
Right.
That good people can't punish evil. Only really evil people can punish evil.
Right, because they would have a conscience, I feel like. If you were to see anybody suffering, whether you know them or care about them or not, it's just bottom line, seeing another human suffer is just a sad thing to witness. And if you don't have a heart of stone, then you're not going to be able to, you know, give them the punishment that they need, I guess.
And I like how much pleasure the devil gets, or Lucifer gets, out of punishing people. It kind of shows that darker side. And you also got to see in this episode what happened to that producer from the first episode who is punished, but all we see is, like, you know, smashed up against a window, and he turned red. But that's all we got to see. And in this episode, we get the sense like, oh, he did a lot more than that.
Yeah, and really, he's feeling the repercussions now. I mean, he slammed his head on that thing to a bloody pulp. So I feel like whatever the devil did to him, you can kind of see is behind the scenes, and we don't really get to witness, you know, outside as a viewer, but we know that whatever he went through is clearly just affecting him in the worst way. It's like PTSD, devil style.
It's because, I mean, the show, when you look at it, it really is just supernatural Castle. But in this sense, it's good to see that Castle, or the character of the Castle, is someone who's kind of a psychopath, and there's a deep darkness behind them, and it's going to be fun every week to see how he punishes these people and how dark he can get in front of Chloe. So
I'm gonna pose a question to you guys, and you guys in the chat can respond, or you guys can tweet us at home.
Right.
So, in your opinion, do you think Lucifer is changing in the fact that he's doling out justice to be good, or do you think he's only doling out justice to satiate the hunger that he has from the lack of being in hell and punishing people?
I think he's doing the punishment because it's part of who he is.
Right.
It's Lucifer. And that's just a side of him that he just can't stop, that he has to do it. Just because, in a way, he's having a little fun with the humans, like how we were saying last week, that it's kind of like being in the zoo and having fun and seeing all these things. he still has that evil side that he has to, fulfill within himself.
Right. It's kind of a both in a way. Like he has to fulfill his own desires. Well, it's also Dexter. It's that feeling of like he is a psychopath.
Passenger.
Yeah, he is the dark passenger who's trying to to
even out the playing field.
Yeah.
I feel like he sees so much good, and especially what happened to him with being casted out of heaven, being God's favorite son. It's like, to me, he's already dealt with the worst case scenario. You pretty much never want that to happen to yourself. I feel like if you were in his position. And then now that he's on the human realm, he can pretty much jurisdict how things go and finally get a little bit of redemption for what he went through, in his own experience.
Yeah, on the chat, Anastasia brings up a good point and says, Lucifer is creating hell on earth. He is punishing people here, which is a good point. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's basically doing what he would be doing in hell. And it makes you wonder, is it leading up to some sort of end of the world scenario where hell is now on earth? I mean, if we want to get grand with this.
Well, if you want to get grand, you can also look at, okay, what is the consequences of him being on Earth?
Right.
Is it he's losing his powers? Is that how he's changing? Or is he becoming mortal? Or is it a timeline where the longer the devil is not in hell punishing souls, the more chances they have to escape hell, and that's where we're going to see hopefully demons or something coming into the world. I think I just thought of something that's kind of interesting, and tell me what you guys think of this. It's interesting to look at this character and how he has absolute power over hell. He goes to Los Angeles, he's in the mortal realm, and he's of course more powerful than anyone else around. He is immortal, he can basically get what he wants. He's got this really nice apartment that he probably just walked in and said, hey, you really want to give this to me, don't you? Not Kilgrave style, but you know.
Nice.
Right.
There's a quote, absolute power corrupts absolutely. But when Lucifer is corruption, the only way to corrupt his absolute power is to make him good.
Right, and I think that's kind of where this is going. And this happens in the comics, too, where he's dealing with where he should be on the moral spectrum, because he's always been on, far, I want to say right, but whatever the evil side is of the spectrum. And right now he's in the middle somewhere, and that's against God's plan, and I think he likes that.
Furthermore, it's against Maze's plan. I feel like every time I saw her looking at him this episode, she was just having this angry, condescending look, and she clearly did not trust Chloe, or she didn't like the way he was changing, which I also saw a comment somewhere that says,
He's so Hollywood.
Maze is Lilith's daughter, and they formerly had a relationship, Maze and Lucifer, and things went sour in the comic book. I don't know if you know anything about this. But.
Right, I know a little bit. I feel like that's maybe touching on stuff I haven't come to yet in the comic.
Okay.
But Maze is someone that's been with him since the beginning of his arc in Sandman, where when he literally gives up the key to hell in Sandman, and he gives it to the Lord of Dreams, and the Lord of Dreams has to figure out who he's going to give the key to hell to, because who's running hell now. And because he's not on a vacation in the comics, he's retired. So he goes to Australia, and then he makes his way up to Los Angeles. And Maze comes with him, and Maze is someone who has half a face and is barely talking, but still has that feeling of wanting to bring out the demon, or wanting him to remain as demonic as he always has been. And I should also note that the Lucifer in the comic does not smile as much as this Lucifer. This is it's a much more intense Lucifer in the comic than it is here.
He's a little more commercialized.
Yeah, he's a bit more Loki in this one.
Yeah.
He's a bit... And by the way, this is a storyline that was in the Marvel comics too, with Loki, where he meets someone who can only hear the truth and he can't lie to. And I like how this Lucifer is the opposite of Loki, where he never lies, but he's dealing with someone who he can't hear. He can only hear lies from her. He can't hear the truth from them. So this is a devil that deals only in the truth, and this is someone who can hide that truth. So
when you say that, it kind of comes to mind, which is really weird, is I think of You know those cartoons where you have the little devil and you have the little angel?
Yeah.
You have the devil himself having Maze and Chloe on his shoulders.
Yeah, exactly.
And one's like the light side pulling him to the light, one's the dark side pulling him to the dark, and then there's the Jedis, not the Jedis, but I mean that is interesting to look like these are two characters pulling in opposite directions. So which side will he hold more in his heart? I mean, what's going to happen when he figures out the secret to Chloe?
Right.
His interest will be lost.
Good point.
Or will it?
The challenge will be over, potentially.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like the thrill of the chase. You know, I mean, he gets women all he wants. He gets everything he wants. So what is the only thing he wants right now is to figure out his curiosity and figure out what's going to happen next because he doesn't know for once.
Right.
Except for, I mean, he watched like Hot Tub High School and enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. We get a bit more of Hot Tub High School in this episode, too.
Yeah.
See, it came back like I thought.
Also,
Yeah.
this is something that's she's also another foil or mirror of Lucifer herself, because she's someone who was literally not literally, but amongst the stars of Hollywood, was part of the Angels of Hollywood by being an actor, and is the daughter of a great actress. We find out this episode.
Penelope Deek, right?
Yeah, and then she left that world.
Decker.
Left that world, and became someone who punishes bad people. So she's also Lucifer. She's also someone who mirrors him exactly, and now she's trying to do good in the world while he was trying to just.
And Lucifer feels the same way. Lucifer says that to her.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just like me.
Yeah.
Well, let's actually jump into some Chloe too, because we get a lot of her development in this episode, and we learn a lot about her as a character. A lot of her fears that we could have guessed from the pilot were that she was fearing her daughter Trixie finding about the DVD. I was actually surprised that they brought that out in the first episode back, the second episode of the series, where her daughter does find out about the DVD, and of course it's just like.
Adorable about it.
There's internet. It's not
She's
even
like,
HD.
I've seen it. Yeah, HD. The mom's like, oh Lord.
And I think that's actually kind of a cool thing to put in a show like this, because you have such a hatred by the million moms of America, like about Lucifer, but then those million moms are the same kind of people who would make a woman lose her job over something she did 20 years ago or something like that.
Right.
Where in this girl, like in this day and age,
Take that, moms.
honestly, adult film, take that, mom. Adult films are actually they're less looked upon as a terrible thing nowadays. People are more accepting of it. 30 years ago, it was not that. And now it's like the daughter's fine with it. The daughter's probably over it.
I also think it's important to take note about what the daughter mentioned about the movie. I thought this was actually really sweet and well written, where she didn't say anything about the topless scene. There was nothing, because she asked, okay, well, what did you think of the movie? And she was like, I loved it when you, and mentioned a scene that is,
Nothing
we
to do
haven't
with that,
even
right.
talked about, because everyone's obsessed, Lucifer and her, and everyone's obsessed with the one scene where she's topless. And the daughter didn't even notice it.
But
the
that's the innocence of a child.
which is great. And
So-
it's great that it's just like, it's not a big deal if they see it, because they're going to pay attention to a whole different side of things. And the innocence is going to prevail. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, kids pay more attention to what you're freaking out about than what.
And vomit. They pay attention.
Because they don't even realize, like, I go back and watch, like, Rocko's Modern Life or any of the
God,
old
that was so
Nickelodeon
dark.
shows. Even SpongeBob, like, has the worst adult jokes in it all
Yeah.
over the place. Riddled with, like, the most heinous stuff.
Oh, jeez.
And
Kids don't get it.
you're like, you know what, kids just don't even understand it.
Goes right over their head.
Yeah,
Do it on
so,
purpose.
yeah, so it's just kind of... I thought it was a cool commentary that they included in the show. We also see her interact more with her ex-husband, Dan, Officer Dan. Fairly,
Officer Dan.
Hi, I'm Officer Dan.
I'm Officer Dan.
Do you know why I'm pulling you over?
Yeah.
You're little devil, you.
There's some tension there between Officer Dan, though, and Lucifer. You can see right when Lucifer
Right.
walks up, he's like, why'd you bring him? And she's like, ugh.
I'm
I
just
didn't know
saying,
it
when
was
Dan comes to the house, I'm sure Trixie isn't like, Dan!
yeah,
They're like,
she
oh,
flew
hey.
in.
Hey, other daddy.
Oh, you're not. You're not someone who seems to be repulsed by me, which is what I like. Lucifer's always just like, innocence, no!
Yes.
Which I enjoy.
Fetch. Here you
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
I'm wondering if there's going to be, I don't know, this is pure speculation, but because they got such a great actor for Dan. Like, he's great. He's great in True Blood. He was great in like everything I've seen him in. And I'm wondering if that character's gonna have more to him as the show goes on. Like, I have the theory that this show's gonna get more supernatural as it goes on, and I feel like he might play a role in this. I don't know. Just because he's like, give him some meat, and he has no meat right now. He's just jealous husband.
Interesting that you say that. I saw a comment last week on our video. It was from Dark Angel, and it said, Lucifer from Supernatural advertised the Lucifer series.
Right,
what do you think? I'm going to quit hell and solve crimes in LA. So I heard about that before it was commented, actually, and I realized, that might have been a little jab because the portrayal of Lucifer in Supernatural versus this is very different.
Very different.
So
very different. I watched Supernatural, so I noticed that when they said that, and I was excited for doing the show. Like, oh yeah, oh man, they're talking about Lucifer.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of meta stuff in Supernatural.
Well, with the dad again, you're seeing the change as well, because the first in the pilot you have the dad is really telling Chloe to stay close to her chest. To be like, don't do anything that's like outside the realms of possibility. Don't do anything that's going to make everyone alerted to you because Palm Point or whatever it was called. Because you accused another officer. There's that going on. They didn't mention that specific incident this episode. But you see that he trusts her a bit more. And it feels like the only reason he trusts her a bit more is because he's suspicious of Lucifer.
Right.
So Lucifer, in turn, is helping their relationship, which they probably wouldn't even have a very good one if he wasn't involved. So do you think there's going to be a point where she has to decide between her husband and being around Lucifer?
Definitely. I'm calling that early.
Yeah, and I think there's also going to be a moment where it seems like the husband's a little darker than Lucifer. I'm guessing that's
when Lucifer is going to intervene. I feel like he's going to have kind of a conscience and caring for Chloe. So I feel like when he sees either Chloe or Trixie under any sort of, maltreatment from Dan, he's not going to take it. And I feel like he's just waiting for the opportunity.
Yeah.
To punish Dan.
Yeah. Well,
Do you think Lucifer has romantic interests in Chloe? Or do you think it's just an interest in the mystery of what she is?
I think it has to be the mystery. I don't see it yet. I think it's just a mystery of like, why is this woman not? Maybe later on we could see him developing some feelings for her. But right now I don't see it. I think he's just curious to know what's going on.
Yeah, and I think Lucifer has romantic feelings for everything. I think he kind of wants
I would say lustful feelings.
Yeah, lustful feelings. I think he wants to bed everything.
That moves, yeah.
Yeah, as we see him waking up from the threesome, which was kind of great. And by the way, I want to see him seduce more men in the show. I feel like
I was like,
it's like, is he only like...
I want a Pulitzer.
Yeah, I think all that could happen. Anyways, but I think he's intrigued by just the mystery. I think there is a danger in the show that they're going to have to add another mystery as soon as that mystery is solved, because this is probably going to get solved by the end of season 1.
So let's get into the fight of the night, if you want to call it that. The fight of the night. So we discussed a little bit about before the show, and we're kind of at odds here as to whether will this show stay as a mortal realm procedural drama with a few angels and demons thrown in as just kind of main characters, or will this become Sleepy Hollow, supernatural, grim style detectives versus monsters? And the monsters are you bring in the storyline of Chloe trying to cope with the supernatural, Lucifer trying to keep everything calm or trying to like stay in LA while knowing that the main cause of these creatures being here is him, or whatever those storylines are. What do you guys think this is going to become by the end of season 1, season 2? I don't know.
Maybe by the end of by season 2 we could get to see more demons and less of the superficial stuff that we see now of like, a cop being held by Lucifer, cute Lucifer. I think maybe by the second season we'll sleep on the Sleepy Hollow type of thing, but not now. maybe if we could go complaining about it, maybe that could happen.
Yeah,
for
I kind of want to
second
see heaven
season.
or hell. Like, I'd like to see the other worlds and see what actually goes on there versus just like idealizing what it would look like. And I think that would really provide a lot more context to the show and why he's even solving crimes or helping out the police, because the devil can only be, beneficial for so long because he likes to attach little strings with his gifts.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think the only way the show is going to survive is if it zooms out a bit more and sees more of the mythology, more of like other mythologies. It can, and because what's going to happen is they're going to solve the mystery of Chloe, and then they're going to need another mystery, and all they need to do is have Lucifer realize he's been part of God's plan this entire time and has to turn and develop his own plan against God. So the show is going to, the only way it could survive, I think, is if it moves away from procedural as it goes on and just becomes more about his fight against God, which sounds weird, and it sounds like the show's not built for that right now, but I think it'll make more sense as the show goes on. I'm hoping, at least.
So, do you think that long gone are the days of the Monk, like Monk, the show, where you can have 7 seasons, the one main storyline, and every episode is a different story? Do you think that show won't go the procedural route? I mean, even White Collar, which is what the showrunner's from, was very, let's have one huge arc that's slow moving that we go back to every few episodes, but the main point of the show is this is procedural. This is different case of the week. Let's use these characters and come up with really clever ways to make people be surprised and make people kind of intrigued at the way they play these characters as a chessboard.
Right. I mean, I don't think the days are over of that type of show, but I don't think this is the show. I think this is a show where, I mean, I just don't see it as a strong procedural show because I'm most interested in whenever an angel shows up. Whenever they're talking about, in the pilot, they talked about what's going to happen to all those people in hell. And I think that's opening the door to they're coming up to Earth, and they're going to start to, I think season 1 is going to be about fighting bad guys, and then they're going to realize one bad guy is actually a demon or a lost soul from hell. And I think that's where it's going to start to go, where they're fighting or finding lost souls from hell. And Lucifer will have more of a stake in it because it's his home property that he wants to make sure is still kind of clean in case he ever goes back. And I think it's just going to go in that path.
But what happens if he doesn't go back until then? Because they did mention that there was going to be a consequence if he doesn't go back to hell kind of immediately. It seemed like they were kind of rushing him.
I think we're going to get another Lord of Hell, and he's going to have to deal with that Lord of Hell.
What about Maze? Do you think she's going to be up for the job?
Interesting.
She might turn on him.
That's an interesting choice, because
I see it more probable that Maze would team up with Amenadiel.
Right.
She mentions in this, and I'm going to be honest, she says, I'm going to be honest, Amenadiel's making sense. You're changing. Kind of sowing some foreshadowing of her working together with Amenadiel to get him back to hell, back to his old self, because if they are going to base her character on the comic books where they had a relationship in the past, she still probably bears some feelings for that Lucifer. Just like, I wasn't kidding when I said he's going Hollywood. When people move to Hollywood, they change a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not like a whole personality shift. It's just your views are broadened because you're surrounded by so many different cultures. You're surrounded by so many different opinions. And you just kind of change bit by bit the longer you're here. And it's not like you're a different person. It's just the way you see things. And the way he's seeing things, and it's kind of funny because being in Hollywood, we know this.
Right.
Los Angeles is changing him, and it's making the people from his hometown not really understand him anymore.
Right.
It's kind of funny. It's like an inside joke within a joke.
Well, it's perfect to have it set in Los Angeles because of that reason, even though you kind of
know that first filming costs.
Yeah, and it's also set here because it's the City of Angels. So it's like, oh, well, that's obvious. But there is that sense of, and they talk about it in this episode, where people come to Los Angeles to reinvent themselves, to to find something new, and that's what's happening to him. So that's perfect.
If the show doesn't go the route that we wanted, I think you and I want to see it go, where with more characters, more demons, more dark stuff. Going back to your question, I still think it will be a successful show. I still think that it will continue to grasp the audience, more audience, new audience, because it has that. Solving crime.
If it just stays procedural where they're just solving crime and they're not demons? If it continues being like this, if it doesn't go darker into showing more demons, I think it will still be a little... for a couple of more seasons, I still think it will be successful just because...
DC name behind it? The DC name behind it?
I don't know, because the DC name behind it makes me think they really have to...
It's like a friend of a friend kind of thing.
Yeah, and also they've introduced... Because if you look at, for instance, iZombie, because this is probably most like iZombie, which is a comic book that was turned into a procedural the same way this has, where she didn't have... It wasn't a procedural in the comic books as it is in the show. You still see more and more zombies. There's still more and more...
Yeah.
They don't go into the realm of ghosts and Frankenstein monsters like the comic books do. But here they've introduced an angel, a demon, and Lucifer. He's always talking about hell. They've planted the seed that where are the souls of hell? Where are they going to go? All that stuff seems like they're going to at least have to introduce another demon other than Maze, who is opposing Lucifer, another angel who has a different viewpoint, at least a bit more of a host of angels.
But it's the same thing. We're trying to solve a crime here.
Yes.
It's like...
I mean, that might end up happening where they're still solving crimes and there's just more angels and more demons behind them.
Yeah, I think if Lucifer can come to Earth, what's to stop other demons and angels from coming to Earth and deciding to disobey God's will and doing that? I think the case is, I don't want to see a special effects or huge grotesque monster every week because it makes Lucifer's devil appearance and things have less of an impact. I like the slow burn, and I like using human bodies at least for the storytelling. Whether there are demons or angels within those bodies, I'm open to that. But I think that it's smart because I don't want it to fall for the same thing Sleepy Hollow did, where the first season was great, but to live up to having so many demons and so many things, the second season fell short because they were focused too much on a monster of the week and focusing on special effects and stuff, and the story and writing just went to hell.
Yeah, and I mean,
no pun intended.
There's also aspects like in the books, there's a moment where Lucifer is planning something, so he goes into, I think it's Japanese hell. And he's just walking around Japanese hell and dealing with those characters. That's not like another Freak of the Week type thing, but they're people from another mythology dealing with this Lucifer that's coming, and they're like, how are we going to deal with, is he as strong as we think he is? And they try to trap him, and he bests them, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Happens. And that could happen where it doesn't have to be a big effects, they're fighting Swamp Thing, or they're fighting Bigfoot. All you need is just like a group of people that you call these are more angels. You
have the Nephilim, you have the demons, and so maybe she's a lot of theories are that she's half angel, half demon. We are out of time.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, we have like about 30 seconds left, so we're gonna roll that outro music, give our Twitter handles and stuff. But one thing, I'm gonna give you a quick piece of news and gossip.
Okay.
And that news and gossip is that on Maria Menounos' SiriusXM show, Conversations on SiriusXM channel 109 Stars, she's got Tom Ellis, the star of Lucifer, coming in on Wednesday morning. So if you have SiriusXM, be sure to listen to that live or catch it on the replay. We're going to try to get him in studio as well here. So we'll see where that happens. But listen, we're going to send her some questions to ask. So maybe she'll ask some of your questions if you tweet at us and we can send it to her. That being said, we've kind of predicted a lot throughout the episode, so we don't really need to do that. Yeah. Where can we find you guys on Twitter in the meanwhile, Isis?
Isis Velaquez and the number 4 on Instagram, Twitter, and all that good stuff.
At MR Dave Child at everything.
And then you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz.
You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux. That's STPHENLEMIEUX. As well as, guys, please go to iTunes, search Lucifer AfterBuzz, leave us a comment, and give us 5 stars. We will give you a shout out on the show if you do so. Also, please hit that thumbs up button and comment below. We will do our best to reply to your comments. And honestly, only comment if you're not part of the Million Moms Club, because we really don't care for your opinions. We will see you guys next week for the Lucifer After Show covering Season 1, Episode 3.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.